So, we've been reading Srimad Bhagavatam for some years actually here, but now we are on the second canto, second chapter. Shukadeva Goswami instructed Maharaj Parikshit what to do. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the duty for all persons, all places, all times, and especially of those who are about to die. So Shukadeva Goswami replied that if you have some time, the duty is to hear about and glorify and remember the Lord. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam. This is the duty for all persons in all places and all times. But if you're just about to die, that duty is to chant the names of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord. And then he described the process of how to begin to meditate on the Lord, detaching from all of your material duties, engaging in meditation, meditating on the sacred mantra, and having some realization of the Lord in your experience, understanding how the Lord is connected to the sun, the moon, the stages of society, everything. So everything is described, not everything, but so many things were described on how you can meditate on the Lord's universal form. And that's good for us. Now we are in the second chapter now. And it's talking about the dreamlike nature that we're all living in, and then how everything actually is the Lord's dream, but we are also living in our own dreams, and they're really meaningless. And we imagine all kinds of circumstances for more heavenly delights in this world. And, really for those who are really, you could say, karmakandis, like a lot of Hinduism is like karmakanda. They're really interested in the fruits of life, And so they're really, hoping for a heavenly situation with lots of enjoyment. But the devotee sees this all as useless, because it has to go away at some point. You can't eternally be the enjoyer, because how do you enjoy? You have to procure facility for your enjoyment. Like you have to either work for your enjoyment, or you have to please a certain personality and get their benedictions for enjoyment. So that means you always have to keep doing sacrifices to procure enjoyment, and then when your enjoyment's done, then you kind of lose your position of enjoyment. But the devotee is not interested in this endless cycle of trying to procure enjoyment through the system of karma. The devotee is not interested in their own enjoyment at all. The devotee is interested in the enjoyment of God. And then naturally, the devotee will enjoy in that association. Like this. We ended last time because of all the meaningless activities that people are doing by the bewildered intelligence of people. It says the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life while in the world of names. He should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing. So this is very heavy, that yes, all of the things that we're endeavoring for in life are hard labor for nothing. No one wants to hear that I've been doing a lot of hard labor and getting nothing out of it. But one who is eager to see practically, samikshamana, they should act like this. So now, how do you actually do that? How do you really endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life? This is the verse when I remember reading it, and I was just like really struck, just like, wow, these like yogis' convictions are like, it's amazing. It's completely contradictory to, how I live my life. I thought I was pretty simple. I thought I was like a yogi. I thought I was like a pretty simple person. But when I was hearing how the sages live, I was like, oh my God, I could never do that. I need this comfort, I need that. So it was pretty far out. So we'll hear about it today. But before we do, we'll do our Mangalacharana. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupang Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Parijana Sahitang Krishna Chaitanya Devang Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first and foremost, I'd like to offer my obeisances to Shri Guru. Without Guru's blessing and mercy, I have nothing to say, and I'm only speaking on the mercy and strength of what has been given to me by Guru. And then I'd like to offer my obeisances unto my Guru's Guru, and his Guru's Guru, and his Guru's Guru, and all of the Gaudiya Guru Varga who are giving us this divine wisdom. And finally, I want to offer my obeisances to my spiritual brothers and sisters, maybe some listening online, but especially to you both here who are wanting to hear the Bhagavatam. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyavcha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, let's continue on with this sanctified activity of Bhagavat Shravan. And but even by reading the Bhagavatam and hearing Prabhupada's purports, it's so beneficial. So this is a nice verse. So, Satyang Shito King Kashipo Prayaser Baho Swasidhe Hupabarhanai Kim Satyanjalo King Purudana Patria Digval Kalado Sati King Dukulai Satyam, being in possession. Shito, earthly flats. Kim, where is the necessity? Kashipo, of beds and cots. Prayasai, endeavoring for. Baho, the arms. Swasidhe, being self-sufficient. He, certainly. Upabarhanai, bed and bedstead. Kim, what is the use? Sati, being present. Anjalo, the palms of the hands. Kim, what is the use? Purudha, varieties of. Anna, eatables. Patra, by the utensils. Dik, open space. Valkala ado, skins of trees. Sati, being existent. Kim, what is the use of? Dukalai, clothes. Okay. Translations. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering, or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? So this is pretty intense, right? I remember when I saw this, I was like, I can't do this. This is wild. So purport. The necessities of life for the protection and comfort of the body must not be unnecessarily increased. Human energy is spoiled in a vain search after illusory happiness. If one is able to lie down on the floor, then why should one endeavor to get a good bedstead or soft cushion to lie on? If one can rest without any pillow and make use of the soft arms endowed by nature, there is no necessity of searching after a pillow. If we make a study of the general life of the animals, we can see that they have no intelligence for building big houses, furniture, and other household paraphernalia. And yet they maintain a healthy life by lying down on the open land. They do not know how to cook or prepare foodstuff. Yet they still live healthy lives more easily than the human being. This does not mean that human civilization should revert to animal life, or that the human being should live naked in the jungles without any culture, education, and sense of morality. An intelligent human cannot live the life of an animal. Rather, man should try to utilize his intelligence in arts and science, poetry, and philosophy. In such a way, he can further the progressive march of human civilization. But here the idea given by Srila Shukadeva Goswami is that the reserve energy of human life, which is far superior to that of animals, should simply be utilized for self-realization. Advancement of human civilization must be towards the goal of establishing our lost relationship with God, which is not possible in any form of life other than the human. One must realize the nullity of the material phenomena, considering it a passing phantasmagoria, and must endeavor to make a solution to the miseries of life. Self-complacence with a polished type of animal civilization, geared to sense gratification, is delusion, and such a civilization is not worthy of the name. In pursuit of such false activities, a human being is in the clutches of Maya, or illusion. Great sages and saints in the days of yore were not living in palatial buildings, furnished with good furniture and so-called amenities of life. They used to live in huts and groves and sit on the flat ground, and yet they have left immense treasures of high knowledge with all perfection. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami were high-ranking ministers of state, but they were able to leave behind them immense writings on transcendental knowledge while residing only for one night underneath one tree. So, thank you, Tom. So this is actually the we see that we have the tendency that, okay, I have to get a nice house, okay, I have to get a nice bed, okay, I have to get a nice pillow, I have to get a nice car, and all these things. But actually, the yogi, the sage, it's so actually what's provided is quite simple. And I remember thinking I was simple when I was beginning my practice of yoga, and I read this for the first time. I realized I'm not quite so simple. What is even the necessity of utensils when you could use the palm of the hands? And even clothing, we think, oh, clothing is so, much there, but actually even And especially back then, making clothing wasn't as easy. Like today, they have factories doing everything and like, machinery doing everything. But making clothing was, quite the profession, they had to do. But there was the art, science, and arts to do it. But, the essence is, be simple. You don't need much. You don't need very much of anything. You need a place. Even the Goswamis in our lineage, they used to just wander around and sleep under trees, and no home, nothing. Maybe a hut during cold month or something like that. But it's very simple. The bare minimum of life. We cannot do it as easy. Women especially cannot do it as easy. Women, get very disturbed in austere conditions. I'm learning this from having a wife. For me, it's like, oh, this is simple, this is good. It's just, it's not going to work for her, especially with children as well. But still, we should simplify as much as possible. Even to the point where, if we really got serious, where even what's the point of a home or cots and beds, and what's the point of pillows and getting utensils, when you can just use the palm of your hands, even for something like eating or even preparing food. And when there's ample covering, or the skins of the trees, what's the necessity of clothing? You can cover yourself with even very simple forest wear. I mean, now it might be more practical to just even get some simple clothing, because you could get very cheaply and simply, or even people donate clothing like anything. I actually, whenever I go to India, I noticed so many people are wearing clothing that must have been discarded from some other part of the world, where I'm just like, wow, I recognize that like from 20 years back, but now in India this is like, being worn. But actually this is proper because, people are distributing so much clothing. So fine, wear the clothing. But you shouldn't, you shouldn't be limited by all of these attachments. Like you need a place to sleep. For whatever reason, be willing to sleep on the ground or in any simple situation. It's about simplicity, because we were talking last time how valuable your time is in this world. But if you have to procure money for getting all of your demands, then what time will be left for self-realization? Yesterday, you guys invited me to your guys' reading group, and then I said, okay, yes, I'll find time to read, and I'll broadcast a message. And then I got concerned that I was the only one who broadcasted the message, and I said, oh, well, maybe they don't want to hear. But, what ended up happening is because everyone else had so much time, a time constraint. So I saw all flood. Everyone's came in at like 11:30, 11:50. Everyone's realizations came in very late at night. But it must be because there wasn't much time in the day, right? But actually, that may be the case, but we should simplify the demands of our life. We should simplify as much as we can so that we have more time, because the more time you have, the more ability you can actually use it for the highest goal of life, is self-realization. And in that self-realization, you will have the ability to love and serve God, because you'll realize God and the ultimate reality of God, and then you'll realize there's no better activity than just lovingly serving God. But you need time. I mean, one of the biggest things benedictions that ever happened to me was just deciding I wasn't going to do what everyone else in society was going to do. As an American boy, I don't want to finish college. I don't want to go out to work. I don't want to just, 9 to 5. I was a little bit spoiled, and I was told you could do anything you want. And in one sense, it was good because it made me realize I'm not going to settle for less in life. But in the other sense, it was a little unrealistic because I obviously can't do anything you want in this world. But what I did was I decided that I would uh, get the common use of intoxicating herbs, and I would provide this for a local community. And so, but actually, it enabled me to sustain my life very simply and not waste too much time. It was just a simple, like, hey, what's up? Here you go. Thank you. And then go back to my life. And, but actually, I'm not glorifying that lifestyle at all, and it really blew up in my face. I had to, go through a penance with the law and all things for that type of life. But the most valuable part of my life is that realization of how valuable my time was. And in that time, I read books like Bhagavad Gita. I learned all of these things. I studied all of these things. I did the real college that I always wanted to do. It was a time for education in my life, but I realized the education that was being put in front of me was useless, which is good. But now, though, for us who, for a normal person, I can't say, just drop everything and see if you can create some illegal business. And, that wasn't really a good path. But the teaching is the same, though, that you should create time. However you have to do it, create time so that you can engage in self-realization, because that is the real goal of life. Simplify everything. Even you don't need a bed, no problem. You don't need pillows. You don't need even cooking utensils. You can eat very simply. Sometimes, me and my wife, have the realization that, too much time spending in the kitchen and cooking and, for what complicated needs, and if there's too much going on, I'm like, I'll just eat fruits today, But like, we actually should be willing. We should be willing to, sacrifice such demands of life and just live very simply, because there's more time for real life. And real life is understanding who we are, who God is, and how to love and serve. That's really what life should be about. That is the essence. So, but first you must realize the nullity of the material. Prabhupada is saying, the material phenomena, considering it a passing phantasmagoria. And you have to endeavor to make a solution to the miseries of life. What's the solution to the miseries of life is that you need divine help. You're going to die. You're suffering disease. Old age, no one wants to. No one wants this. No one wants all their relatives and their loved ones to fade away in time. But this is how it goes. So really the only solution is to approach God. That's the only solution. But we can have this self-complacence with a polished type of animal civilization, geared to sense gratification, and this is delusion. It's not really a civilization. It's just a society of, civilization means that which is civilized, But there's no civilization in just living life to eat, drink, and be merry. It's not civilized, actually. It's this animal life, which is why almost all of these people, if they don't have some divine interjection into their life, they will surely become animals again, because that's how they live their life. And this is the greatest fear that's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. But for you guys, it's not necessarily the case. Even a little advancement in this bhakti, which you both made a little advancement, you won't go back down to animal life. Unless you do some really kind of offensive thing. It's reserved for the bhakta who does quite an offensive thing. It is possible. You can do it. Like Divyanshi was talking about this bhakta, this monkey who was going to the temple and making some offering. The only way to get in that predicament is if you were supposed to be a devotee and then you did something quite offensive, befitting of, say, a monkey. then you have to go and live like a monkey, just so you learn your lesson. So anyhow, but most people, they're not, God serving people, but they're all living like animals in, just trying to gratify their senses, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending what they acquire in this world. So, you don't need a big, nice home. Even actually, me and my wife, we're scoping out our next living situation and things like this. And we were thinking, if we get some money, we can do this, we could do this. But even just having a property with a little, we just stayed on a beautiful home. And it was offered to us. All we had to do was run bhakti programs in it. But it was a beautiful home on 30 acres in the middle of the forest in Florida, just outside Tallahassee. The home was phenomenal. Perfect home for a family. The property was phenomenal, 30 acres. But just seeing how overgrown the property and all the time you'd have to do in even just maintaining the property. What's to speak of earning the money to have the home? But we didn't even have to earn the money to have the home. We just had to maintain it. But all the time in maintaining the 30 acres of property wasted, we were like, we don't want this at all. We convinced her to sell it. Then once she decided to sell it, then we were kind of out of the equation. But yeah, it's you need to live simply. You don't need very much. You need just the basics of life. This is the essence of this verse. So that's why he's saying the Goswamis, they would not even live 2 nights under the same tree. And what to speak of well-furnished rooms with modern amenities. And still they were able to give us most important literatures of self-realization. So many books they wrote. What did they need? They wrote on palm leaves. But at the same time, they were able to accomplish so much. They barely slept. They slept like 1 to 1.5 hours a night. I accidentally did that the other night, and I was so exhausted I had to go sleep for almost 2-3 hours in the middle of the day because I was just so tired. I couldn't even imagine. But because they were so devotionally fulfilled and so healthy, they only needed to sleep. Many people, they spend hours going to the gym to be healthy. But the reason they have to do that is because they've cultivated a life that's so unhealthy. So they have to try to reverse their unhealthy habits, with the sedentary lifestyle. But, actually in the natural state of existence, the simple living that nature affords us, you could stay so healthy, actually, with eating so simple. A lot of the time we get very lethargic in life, and our health suffers. But in Ayurveda, it's admitted 95% of diseases are food-related. Just developing unhealthy eating habits, actually. And this is why practically all the unhealthiness of the world arises. But if you live in nature and you live simply, and you eat simply with just bare minimum necessities, you're very healthy. In Ayurveda, it's a principle. It's not necessarily what you eat, but it's how much you eat, actually. If you eat unhealthy things, but less of it, or you eat much, much healthy things, but so much more of it, because of all the so-called healthy things being mixed in together in your body and the way they break down and ferment, they turn toxic, actually. And even if you eat less healthy things, but only an appropriate portion, your body is actually able to break it down. So, you can live very healthily, very simply. It's inspiring, actually. Prabhupada says, so-called comforts of life are not actually helpful for progressive civilization. Rather, they are detrimental to such progressive life. In the system of Sanatana Dharma, of 4 divisions of social life and 4 orders of progressive realization, there are ample opportunities and sufficient directions for a happy termination of the progressive life. I have to read that again. So if you follow Varnashram Dharma, there are ample opportunities and sufficient directions for a happy termination of the progressive life. So how to happily give up your life? If you practice Dharma, you can have good opportunities to be happy, and then also give up your life happily. And the sincere followers are advised therein to accept a voluntary life of renunciation in order to achieve the desired goal of life. If you don't willingly and happily give up the pleasures of this world, guess what's going to happen? You'll be forced to give it up anyway. Old age, disease, many people, they can't eat, old people, you want to feed them a lot. They say, I cannot eat. Why? Because due to the aging process, the ability to enjoy is completely hampered. So it's going to happen if you don't give it up, you get disease. And then the disease will force you to give it up. And then when so many diseases are upon the body, forcing you to give up, renounce this world and its pleasures, enough of them are there, then the body will just die. So, Sanatana Dharma teaches a voluntary life of renunciation. Start now. Give up things now. Even in this devotional life, there's so many austerities that are recommended. You give up meat, you give up intoxicating things, you give up certain lifestyle practices, deceitful lifestyle practices, gambling and business, speculative businesses, all these things, wasting money. And then you give up, sex outside for children. That's the hope, that you give these things up. But and why? Because by renouncing these things, you're able to be more productive and more happy. These things don't bring happiness, actually. They actually bring attachment and dependency and trouble. Because now you have to, for instance, anyone who has ever tried to maintain a robust sex life, there's so much energy that has to go into that. There's just so much energy, especially the man has to do so much to court the woman, and then the woman has to feel that there's so much being provided by the man, and then she feels obligated to also engage in this way. But and some people, for the materialists, this is the goal of life, to have as much sex and as much money as possible. But you'll waste the whole life doing that. You'll waste the whole life, spending, these even you go to the bar, and there's so many old fellows there, and they're all looking for sex life, and they're old, and then you're like, why are you're wasting your life doing this? And they spend maybe every day there trying to procure their next bit of sex engagement and intoxication. But it's not happy, actually, and it's actually a waste of life, and it'll all get taken away from them anyway as they get older and die. So if one is not accustomed to abiding by the life of renunciation and self-abnegation from the beginning, one should try to get into the habit at a later stage of life, as recommended by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and that will help one to achieve the desired success. So this verse is pretty much, and purport is telling us, voluntarily take renunciation in your life. If you don't voluntarily take it, it'll be forced upon you by age, and you have to come up with a program of renouncing more and more. I know, it's a tough day. So yes, but that's some you've taken the renounced practice of deciding I'm going to get up early every day. It's a very good renounced practice. Prabhupada says if we don't get up by 4 a.m. every day, we can't know anything about spiritual life. Even I'm struggling to get up at 4 in the morning every day, you know. But why? Because there's other activities. We can't stay up past midnight every day and expect, you know. Because why are we staying up past midnight? Because there's so many other attachments that are forcing us up that late. So then we miss the golden era, you know. And even if we do get up early, we force it like I often do. You're so tired you really can't really absorb it. You really can't feel the peace of the air, of the that time of the day, the spiritual time of the day, in which one can meditate and focus and prepare oneself for having a spiritually enlivening day. So we have to give up whatever attachments. Even sometimes I have to finish my rounds and things, and that's all very good. But oftentimes it might be better to just invest into tomorrow. Just say, you know what, I messed up today. Let me drop this, let me go to bed and get a good start on tomorrow, and then let me invest into tomorrow, and I'll do things better tomorrow. You have to manage these things. But yeah, there's so many renounced practices recommended. Attending Mangal Arati is recommended from Prabhupada every day. Chanting 16 rounds, recommended every day. These are all austerities that focus on self-realization. Studying Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam every day. All the limbs of devotion. They're all austerities, especially in the beginning when you don't have much of a taste for them. And you're doing them only because you know it's what's best for you, because of the scriptures and the devotees have told you. But at some point you will realize how glorious these practices are, and we'll continue them. So now, this will have to be our last verse. Chirani King Pathina Santi Dishanti Bhikshang Naivang Hripa Parabrita Sarito Pyashushyan Rudha Guha Kimajito Vatino Pasanan Kasmad Bhajanti Kavayo Dhanadurma Dandhan. Chirani, Kim, weather, Pathi, on the road. Na, not. Santi, there is. Dishanti, given charity. Bhiksham, alms. Na, not. Eva, also. Anghripa, the trees. Padabrita, one who maintains others. Saritaha, the rivers. Aphi, also. Ashushyan, have dried up. Rudha, closed. Guha, caves. Kim, weather. Ajita, the Almighty Lord. Avati, give protection. Na, not. Upasana, the surrendered soul. Kasmat, what for then? Bhajanti, flatters. Kavaya, the learned. Dana, well. Dormada Andhan, too intoxicated by. Translation: Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms and charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? Purport: The renounced order of life is never meant for begging or living at the cost of others as a parasite. According to the dictionary, a parasite is a sycophant who lives at the cost of society. What is a sycophant? A person who uses insincere, excessive flattery to gain favor, influence, or an advantage from someone wealthy or powerful. So you pretty much someone who's insincerely manipulating others for like, you're just the most amazing, who goes to the rich person. You're so amazing, you're so wonderful, please help us. And if you're ever running a non-profit endeavor, that tendency could rise up. I mean, I actually feel almost embarrassed now because I don't ask anyone for donations, and sometimes I get a little worried, but then I just remembered, Krishna will provide, and he actually usually does. Actually, he always does, because we haven't lost everything yet. But yeah, I remember in the beginning, I was, doing this, I was more really into approaching, and then sometimes, the people who have money, they're the most materialistic people, actually. They're the ones who have the money. Because materialistic people, they'll strive for making the money, but simpler people, they don't have much money. So the more materialistic people, you have to, flatter them and all these things to, get some money. And because we want to live some so-called renounced life here. But actually, it's drawing out the hypocrisy of one who's trying to live in a renounced way, but, becoming a sycophant, or in this verse, why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? So those who are intoxicated by what they earned in wealth, the sages have to do all kinds of mental gymnastics with them to procure some donation, or to procure that they'll feed them or clothe them and whatnot. But the verse is saying, it's all there. You can get torn clothes on the common road very easily, or in common society. The trees have all the fruits ever necessary for survival. The rivers supply all the water necessary. The caves, they provide shelter. But he's saying above all, the Almighty Lord protects the fully surrendered soul. Which is why I made the commitment some years back. Don't really ask much for charity, because the Lord will provide. You don't need to secure your position in this world with your own endeavors. The Lord will do it, actually, especially if you're sincere, a surrendered soul. So it's not about being a sycophant who lives at the cost of society without making any contribution to that society. The renounced order is meant for contributing something substantial to society and not depending on the earnings of the householders. So, this is the secret. Like even here, what we're offering and what we should be offered should be so substantial in education and in contribution that the earnings of the householders, it's independent. And actually it's been proven that we are, independent of that to some degree. And there are householders, their earnings are totally helping us continue these programs. But we don't have to be dependent on them. We just to be dependent on what we're actually contributing, what we're actually offering, and that the strength of that the Lord will give. So this is how to properly renounce in life. That you contribute something so substantial with your actual ability to educate, that you can trust that the Lord, and with your surrender to the Lord, that the Lord will definitely provide. So, on the contrary, acceptance of alms from the householders by the bona fide mendicant is an opportunity afforded by the saint for the tangible benefit of the donor. So really, for a saintly person to give an opportunity for the householder to give in charity, this is actually a great benediction. If you ever have the opportunity to help give charity to a saintly personality, this is your good fortune. It's not their good fortune. Oh, I'm so charitable. No, they're so charitable that they gave you an opportunity. to help them, to help serve a more elevated soul, a soul more dear to the Lord. Now you have this rare opportunity to help them. It has to be completely flipped, the understanding of charity. But in the Sanatana Dharma institution, alms given to the mendicant is part of a householder's duty, and it is advised in the scriptures that the householders should treat the mendicants as their family children and should provide them with food, clothing, etc., without being asked. So, which is why eventually, even here, this non-profit endeavor that we're making, we do it now and we don't ask. Because it's really, if we do a good enough job educating, when they read something like this, they'll say, oh, I should contribute, I should help, I should, But if we're not really doing our job of letting the people of this community know their duty, they won't exactly know what to do. And they'll never have these realizations of, yes, the realization of the common person is, I should enjoy and I should use all my resources to enjoy, which is no realization. They have no realization. But when you shed light on what really should be done, eventually, when one learns these things, then you say, oh, I should use my wealth more piously. I should use my wealth more properly. I should do these things more. I should be more generous in this way, that way, and the other way. And so, really, it's the duty. And if we neglect our duty, then we practice adharma and we acquire sin, actually. But the Lord will provide, and if beggars cannot be choosers, so if you're a mendicant or a renounced person in life, you can't, if someone doesn't know to follow the Vedic injunctions properly, doesn't know that, they really should help take care of you, then it's okay. You trust everything is the Lord's plan, and the Lord will work it out with that person, and you just keep doing your work properly, and you'll always have enough. So that's that. Pseudo-mendicants, therefore, should not take advantage of the charitable disposition of the faithful householders. The first duty of a person in the renounced order of life is to contribute some literary work for the benefit of the human being in order to give him realized direction towards self-realization. So this is the first duty of a person in the renounced order of life, is to contribute some shastras, some scriptures for the benefit of the human being in order to give him a realized direction towards self-realization. So maybe you don't yourself, not so adept at composing a shastra, but you could present what's already there. Give people Bhagavad Gita, give them the opportunity to hear Bhagavatam. Everything should be around these bona fide works of the Lord, these Vedic transmissions. Amongst the other duties in the renounced order of life, Srila Sanatana, Srila Rupa, and other Goswamis of Vrindavan, the foremost duty discharged by them was to hold learned discourses amongst themselves at Sevakunj, Vrindavan, the spot where Sri Radha Damodar temple was established by Srila Jiva Goswami, and where the actual Samadhi tombs of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Jiva Goswami are laid. If you haven't been there, you should go there at some point. So this is also where Prabhupada got the inspiration and wrote this. He was writing this Bhagavatam there. That's where he was. So for the benefit of all in human society, they left behind them immense literatures of transcendental importance. Similarly, all the acharyas who voluntarily accepted the renounced order of life aimed at benefiting human society and not at living a comfortable or irresponsible life at the cost of others. So we should, there should be some contribution. We're not, as we become more renounced, and maybe even because we are trying to offer something spiritually, the charitable householders might be inclined to help. But if you take that and then just live some comfortable life, but don't actually contribute or offer anything in return, it's actually this is irresponsible, and it's sinful. So we have to try to actually contribute something as we take the more renounced stage of life. Later in life, also it could be done, but we should work towards that even now. Why wait? Even now, take steps towards renunciation. How can I be more simple? How can I get up earlier, engage in my duties properly? How can I faithfully make more time for self-realization, and give up some material things, whatever they are in your life, whatever things that are holding you up, keeping you up late, all these things. How can I simplify those things? So, however, those who cannot give any contribution should not go to the householders for food. For such mendicants, asking bread from the householders are an insult to the highest order. Shukadeva Goswami gave this warning especially for those mendicants who adopt this line of profession to solve their economic problems. So if you become like a professional, like sadhu or a professional beggar, this is very not good. And so Shukadeva Goswami is warning you in this verse. Don't rely on the household people for your sustenance. The Lord will provide for you. You just be sincere in your renunciation. Such mendicants are in abundance in the age of Kali. When a man becomes a mendicant willfully or by circumstances, he must be a firm faith and conviction that the Supreme Lord is the maintainer of all living beings everywhere in the universe. Why then would he neglect the maintenance of a surrendered soul who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord? A common master looks to the necessities of his servant, so how much more would the all-powerful, all-opulent Supreme Lord look after the necessities of life for a fully surrendered soul? That's why Jesus, he says, don't worry about your food. Do you see all the animals? The sparrows in the trees, like this? Do you think the Lord loves them and all their food is provided for them? Do you think the Lord loves them more than you? And then he says, now look at all the lilies of the field. Don't worry about clothing. Look at all the beautiful flowers of the field. Look how the Lord has clothed them to look so beautiful. Do you think the Lord will not provide clothing for you? And he says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all other things shall be added unto you. This is a very core Christian teaching. This is the same. It's teaching this proper renunciation. Focus 100% engaged in service of the Lord. He will never neglect you. He'll never neglect you. So, a common master even looks at the necessities of his servant. Even the sevaks here, I'm always worried. I'm like, are you sick again? Are you like this? Are you using the microwave? I'm always chastising Dipti for using the microwave because it's not healthy and it could contribute to making them sick. And even common person develops affection for people who render service. So what's to speak of the Supreme Lord? If you're rendering service to the Lord sincerely, He not going to take care of you. He won't take care of that person. But we worry so much. No, I have to arrange my own protection and well-being. No, the Lord will arrange. You just serve Him nicely. He'll arrange. Don't worry. But this faith has to be built. So He's giving some of these examples. Jesus is also giving this example. The general rule is that a mendicant devotee will accept a simple small loincloth without asking anyone to give it in charity. He simply salvages it from the rejected torn cloth thrown in the street. When he is hungry, he may go to a magnanimous tree which drops fruits, and when he is thirsty, he may drink water from the flowing river. This is much easier in India, because in India all these things are much more readily available. which is why there's so many sadhus in India. And it's actually illegal to be a sadhu practically in the Western world. You can't, that's why homeless people get rounded up and arrested sometimes, because it's not really accepted. But there's a way to simplify, and there's a way to even I've seen doing this line of profession, this non-profit line of work in this world. I've seen that even the government, especially in New York, the government gives so many benefits to one who operates in this line of work, and even so much to the point where I saw that coupled with the benefits that the government offers for one doing this line of work, especially in the non-profit field, that just by the government's blessings alone, it would take me to make like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to get such benefits, by my own strength. So it's actually, the Lord provides. The Lord actually provides everything. You don't need to, create your own protection or success in this world. You just have to be a soul surrendered to the Lord, and everything's given. It's all there. So let's finish here. Yeah, we can do it. So you can get just from the fruits and the water from the flowing river. That's why I like to go. How do we get all the water from the ashram? There's flowing, natural, free streams that we are cooking with and everything. You could just go there. The fruits, we all actually subsist here off the generosity of people providing. But even me and my wife, we get help from the government even, and we get food stamps as well, and we get all the, necessary things also. It's amazing. It's all these things. And he does not require to live in a comfortable house, but should find a cave in the hills, and not be afraid of jungle animals, keeping faith in God, who lives in everyone's heart. This is also making me feel, somehow or other we were given this house, but the stipulation is we'll give you this house, but you have to use it for creating a temple for the community. So what do me and my wife live? We have to go live in the cave in the house, in the basement, And my wife's always complaining of its cave-like nature. I hate being underground and this and that. But, actually, this is glorified, to live like this. So it's okay. We don't need some big opulent arrangement. And we're definitely not afraid of jungle animals here. The only animals we see are some bunnies and deer running on the road. We have nothing to be afraid of here. Maybe some of the jungle-like people in the environment here who do, criminal activities. These are, the most fearful things in this in this place. So, keeping faith in God who lives in everyone's heart. And even them, even disturbing elements, even like jungle animals, bears and tigers and all these things. If someone is really surrendered to God, you understand God is in their heart, and that God will not inspire them to harm you unless, for whatever reason, God is inspired to let them harm you. But if that were the case, a surrendered soul says, I must deserve this. The Lord finds it fitting. But the Lord, He's interested in protecting His devotee. So the sages, they live in the forest, caves, and they're not afraid of leopards or tigers or anything. They don't actively seek them out, but they live simply, and they trust the Lord will protect them. The Lord may dictate to tigers and other jungle animals not to disturb His devotee. Haridas Thakur, a great devotee of Lord Sri Chaitanya, used to live in such a cave, and by chance a great venomous snake was a co-partner of the cave. Some admirer of Thakur Haridas, who had to visit the Thakur every day, feared the snake and suggested that the Thakur leave that place. Because his devotees were afraid of the snake and they were regularly visiting the cave, Thakur Haridas agreed to the proposal on their account. But as soon as this was settled, the snake actually crawled out of its hole in the cave and left the cave for good before everyone present. I think this is in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's very nice. By the dictation of the Lord, who lived also within the heart of the snake gave preference to Haridas and decided to leave the place and not disturb him. So there was a poisonous snake, and it was giving off such a venomous odor that the people who were visiting Haridas Thakur there, they said, "You have to get out of here. There's danger," and things like that. And Haridas Thakur didn't care, but these people were so concerned for his well-being. So he said, "Fine, if the snake does not leave by tomorrow, I'll leave." And so the Lord inspired the snake in his heart to come out, and it was like this giant snake, like an unheard of giant snake, and they all saw it. But it just shows the miracle of the soul surrendered to the Lord, that the snake was inspired to give precedence, because the super soul's in the heart of the snake too. Even a lot of times, there might be some very dangerous personality, otherwise criminal behavior. But they might come and actually render service to the devotee because the Lord's in their heart too, and the Lord is recognizing. So this is how it works. So anyhow, so this is a tangible example of how the Lord gives protection to a bona fide devotee like Thakur Haridas. According to the regulations of the Sanatana Dharma institution, one is trained from the beginning to depend fully on the protection of the Lord in all circumstances. The path of renunciation is recommended for acceptance by one who is fully accomplished and fully purified in his existence. This stage is described also in the Bhagavad Gita 16.5 as Daivi Sampat. A human being is required to accumulate Daivi Sampat or spiritual assets. Otherwise, the next alternative, Asuri Sampat or material assets, will overcome him disproportionately, and thus one will be forced into the entanglement of different miseries of the material world. So we have to acquire Daivi Sampat, real spiritual assets, by our, bhakti sukriti. And then what will we get? We'll eventually have enough bhakti sukriti where we can actually purchase the mercy of a pure devotee. But otherwise, if you just acquire Asuri Sampat, different material assets in this life, then you'll be forced into the entanglement of different miseries of the material world. So I'll just warn you how it could look like, because you're going into this type of field. If you acquire position and wealth in your career, it may look good. Oh, I'll get more money, I'll get more this, but it always comes with a cost. You'll get entangled in many types of material miseries. So that's why, like Divyanshu, he just got this job. And actually on the material level, the pay is lower than normal. Probably what was hoped for, right? But the Lord gave this job for a reason. And you'll probably see, when you see how everything works out, that the Lord actually blessed you guys immensely with this job. And whatever job you get, whatever pay is available or whatnot, you should always trust the Lord is giving and the proper thing. And your hope should always be, I just want spiritual assets. I don't need a big high-paying job. Because you can get some big high-paying job, but they might put you in so many miserable situations that it's not worth it. So you should always trust and look for the mercy of the Lord in getting spiritual assets. Like even Madhav, what is he doing? He is working one job, and this job is not so favorable for Daivi Sampat, for him to get spiritual assets. He has to leave when everyone else is doing sadhana in the morning. He's leaving, doing work, and so on. So he took a job less pay, a job he had for years. But this job had allowed him to have so much Daivi Sampat, where it was just pushing carts in the parking lot of BJ's. Not a desired job for practically anyone. But Madhav used to do it, and he used to love it. And he would say, I could listen to all the lectures every day, and I can chant even at work, and everyone leaves me alone. No one's, saying, spewing all kinds of material nonsense in my ears. I can just listen, and I can listen to spiritual. So we recommended, Madhav, go get that job back. and take more service at the temple. It'll equal out. The same finances will be there in your life. And if Madhav didn't have some devotional maturity, he would say, no. There's less Asura Sampat. I can get more money this way. Maybe so. But there's more Daivi Sampat. So the devotee is understanding where is I can get more spiritual asset. Is it in the higher pay? No. It's in what will make my life more favorable to devotion. That might mean less pay. That might mean less time in work and more time in devotional activity. Definitely will mean that. But some realization has to be there. You don't just... The tendency is a Surya Sampat. But what happens also is misery comes. For one who acquires a Surya Sampat, you acquire misery. For one who acquires Daivi Sampat, you'll actually acquire bliss. Blissful situations will come. So anyway, a sannyasi should always live alone, without company, and he must be fearless. He should never be afraid of living alone, although he is never alone. The Lord is residing in everyone's heart, and unless one is purified by the prescribed process, one will feel that he is alone. But a man in the renounced order of life must be purified by the process. Thus he will feel the presence of the Lord everywhere and will have nothing to fear, such as being without any company. Everyone can become a fearless and honest person if his very existence is purified by discharging the prescribed duty for each and every order of life. One can become fixed in one's prescribed duty by faithful and oral reception of Vedic instructions and assimilation of the essence of Vedic knowledge by devotional service to the Lord. So, a sannyasi, even though it looks like he lives alone, with significant spiritual realization, he'll know I'm never alone. The Lord is with me and providing everything, and everyone I interact with is actually Krishna. They know that. We also, Prabhupada says, everyone can become fearless and an honest person if his very existence is purified by discharging the prescribed duty for each and every order of life. So everyone can feel, okay, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm a householder, so I have certain duties I have to do for my wife and my family, and also to my community around me. And if I do all these things, I don't have nothing to fear. And I can always be honest, and the Lord He will give everything that needs to be. I don't have to try to manipulate anything, I don't have to cheat, I don't have to it'll all come. Everything that's needed will come. So everyone can have that same fearlessness if you're properly situated in your ashram. You guys are also entering this Grahastha ashram. You're already in it, in couple life, and you should both get married. That's how to properly be in the ashram. But this marriage will come hopefully very soon when the realization is fully there. It's fully blossomed. And then you guys can have nothing to fear. Because the only thing you might have to fear right now is you might be in a situation outside of the blessings of the Vedas. The blessings of the Vedas tell exactly how to perform it. So, what we should fear is that there's some Asuri Sampat has come. We have some material arrangement here, which is said to be Asuri. But there's a way to transfer it to Daivi Sampat. Okay? When man and woman come together, this is a Sampat, it is an asset, but if it's under marriage, it's Daivi Sampat. So, if you want Daivi Sampat, spiritual asset, you get married. No matter what, no matter where your career status is, actually. It doesn't matter. That's not part of the Daivi Sampat. These are other considerations. So, then you can become fearless and honest in your existence, and you will... You'll have nothing to fear. The Lord will provide everything. I saw this personally in my life. I was quite a poor person in my life, but because I was trying to acquire a Surya Sampat, I didn't really have proper training. But by Guru Maharaj's grace, actually, he really encouraged me to get married. He was not happy at all with this dating life that me and my wife were more interested in. because it's a Suri Sampat. So he encouraged, no, you should get married. And so after 9 months of knowing each other, which is unheard of in Western culture, we decided to get married in India secretly, and then we did it with the family 2 years later. So we did, but I saw immediately, once we got married, Krishna just blessed us in ways, even financially, in ways that I never could have imagined. But why? Because we were living a more honest life, and we were living a more sincere devotional life under the blessings of Guru, under the blessings of the devotees. And Krishna immediately blessed the situation. Actually, even in my astrology, it says that I will acquire much more material benefit after marriage. And it was very much the case for me. And also, just by having who I married, my wife's, relatives have more wealth than I'd say the common person in this. I hope they're not mad at me if they're watching. Have more wealth than the common person in America, at least. And so just by associating with my wife and her family, so many more, even material benefits have come. But not because of, not like I was looking, I'm like, oh, well, what's the income of this girl's parents? Okay, no, I was looking for a spiritual partner, and just so happened that, she came with the certain circumstances like that. And yeah, we don't have to worry about, even my parents who are, even their wealth has improved over the past few years. But, everyone's always down, some expenses for having children, which is part of our duty as having children. It's expensive to buy diapers and all these things, and clothing and all these things, but always somehow packages keep coming from grandparents who are always providing all the clothing, all the diapers, everything necessary. So, if you do this, you'll acquire Daivi Sampat, or a spiritual asset. And you'll take away Asuri Sampat, a material asset. Because actually when man and woman come together, this asset is a material asset. But when man and woman come together under the Daivi, Varnashram, under marriage, it becomes spiritual. And I can promise you, if you guys take this step, or really, I know it's a process, it's not like, all right, tomorrow we'll do it. But I promise you, if you take this step, or speed up the process to take this step as quickly as possible, you will not regret it, and it will only give you spiritual assets. So I know, I know a verse about sannyasis, how did we get to marriage? But anyhow, the subject matter is there. So anyway, we have to end here. We're late. But yeah, you can consider all these things and trust the Almighty. The main thing about this verse, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? So the fully surrendered soul will always try to do that which is pleasing to the Lord. And how can you ever expect He won't protect you? Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So, little kirtan here. Part you can blow.